Peace, love, positive energy. My name is Cymarshall Law, and you are now watching TheBeeShine. I can't remember if it was around Christmas time, but I remember walking into the living room and Run DMC's Christmas Time and Hollis Queen video was on. I had to have been like 6 years old, maybe even 5 years old. I walked in and I remember the video is like really colorful and vibrant, and it just pulled me in. And then when I, started listening to what they were saying, the lyrics were really catchy. Ever since that day, I've loved hip hop. It's funny because the first time I heard hip hop from England, I wasn't in England. It was years later in America. When we moved from England, first of all, I was 8 and my brother was 7 years older than me. He was 15. So he was more into music back then, but he was also into dancing. So he had a dance group. And when we moved to America, I moved back. A couple of his friends that he had been dancing with were now MCs. And so those ended up being the first MCs that I heard because they had sent demo tapes from England to America. So I heard those guys. I was probably in the 7th grade, and I was getting ready for school in the morning. My sister was playing the radio in her room, and I heard this beat, and it just like grabbed me and pulled me in. So I walked into her room, she was ironing her clothes, and I was like, yo, what is that? And she turned around, she was like, Keith Murray, The Most Beautifulest Things. Yo, when I heard that, when I got a hold of that single, I must have rewound and rewound and rewound and rewound. And that was one of the songs that really made me want to start writing. Keith Murray, The Most Beautifulest Things in This World. At that point, it was 7th grade, so I still couldn't drive or anything. I was just starting to get used to taking the bus on my own and taking the train on my own. But luckily, my older brother was an MC already, and he was already doing these things like performing at Lyricist Lounge joints, performing all over the tri-state. He got signed to a record label called Subverse Music that was started by Big Just from Company Flow. And because my brother was always doing shows like at the Knitting Factory, by the time I got to be like 16, if I was allowed, he was allowing me to come to his shows and like either watch him on stage, or sometimes I would start to perform with him. So I started performing all around New York with my brother. And then when he moved to Atlanta with the label, I started having to do these joints by myself. So I was entering battles here and there. I think the first battle I ever got into was at the Wetlands. And that was years ago because obviously Wetlands is closed, and it was hosted by Poison Pen. This is years before, Poison Pen became one of my friends. But I had to have been like 18 then, but I was battling, doing shows. I was on the Vans Warped Tour twice. The group name was Ever Living Sound. Years later, I joined the group, so now him and I are the two MCs in Ever Living Sound. When I started taking it seriously, I remember my mom, who's always had my back, but I always tell my mom I'm always going to tell the truth. I remember she said to me, I think the music thing is more for your brother. You probably are better at other things. And that made me mad as hell. I love my mom, but that upset me and that drove me to go in. So it wasn't about if they said it was good for me or not. I do what's best for me. That's what they taught me to do. I was able to tour the world. And when I was touring the world, I was doing it with no manager, no publicist. It was all my legwork. And I remember a lot of MCs used to be confused on how I got myself into these positions. I got to go to Czech Republic. I performed in over 25 countries, and it comes from me just wanting to do it. Like, a lot of people don't understand, like, you have to invest not only your money, but your time. So I was hitting up people I didn't know, like, over and over and over again. And on top of that, I was putting myself in these positions by putting up my own money. A lot of the times I would be going to Europe and I wouldn't know anybody. Like, I would be sleeping on people's couches, like whatever I had to do. So I think just the fact that I forced myself into that position and then got myself in a position where I could do it anytime I want, that's one of the things that I really appreciated. I went back to school twice and had a regular job while I was doing hip hop. And at the time was a single dad. So I was like doing a whole lot of things at the same time. So I know a lot of people, they would break down under the pressure, but I didn't break down. I have 3 loving, beautiful children. And, I passed school and now I'm putting out another album. So I'm proud of that. Pat myself on the back. I love my art being appreciated. because you can always draw a dope picture or make a dope song, but if no one hears it or no one sees it, it's like, and when I create something and then someone appreciates it, there's not really a better feeling. Only maybe sex. Besides that, it's not really a better feeling, because sometimes people will hit me up, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere on social media, and it could be from any of the 7 continents, and people will say, "Look, Cy, you made this album or this song and it really helped me. So now I just," when you've created something from your heart and it affects someone to the point it can change their life course in a positive way, there's not a better feeling than that. Besides sex, maybe. But, I've been to places that I never would have got to without music. Like, I was sitting on a balcony in Hungary in a 13-story building. I climbed the Austrian Alps. I've been high up in mountains in Sweden, and that stuff I never would have done if I didn't put the pen to the pad. I hope people remember that you can succeed without conforming. That's my main message. Like, I could have made songs about things that were more materialistic or more popular, but I feel like my music is gonna last because I didn't conform. I made music with substance. And I feel like when you make music with substance, it lasts a lot longer than the fast food music. So I want people are going to hear my music and hear my soul years from now. And I that's gonna be my legacy. I didn't conform and I stayed true.